Hello people of the... Have you ever wanted to see hackers unmasked? Here's two of them. This is Charlie Miller and Chris Valasek. In 2015, they remotely took control of a Jeep Cherokee driving through St. Louis on I-64. The driver never noticed the attack until weird things started happening.
You can't turn it down.
This was such a fun video. Steve, okay, go to enjoy it.
And now the air conditioning is blasting, the music is blasting, and I can't see anything because of the windshield wiper fluid.
Okay, do it. Do it. Kill the engine.
So we're killing the engine right now.
It says park sense. Actually can't accelerate.
You may already know this story because it was an organized attack, permitted and published by a journalist from Wired. But no matter how pre-planned the attack was, the message was clear. The computer systems in cars back then, and still today, are dangerously vulnerable to cyber attacks, and the automotive industry isn't doing enough about this. Since then, cars have only gotten more technologically advanced, now being able to drive themselves or stream my awesome YouTube videos on their screens. Like and subscribe. Now, I tell you all of this because a couple of months ago I was having a conversation with a fellow car enthusiast, and we were lamenting the loss of the internal combustion engine cars that seems to be going on right now. And then he made a comment about EVs that I was honestly quite surprised by. He made the claim that electric vehicles are being pushed onto consumers so that the government can more easily control us. Say what you will about electric cars, but since when is the powertrain the deciding factor in how easy it is for a hacker to remotely control it? In this video, I'm going to answer that question. Hello people of the internet, I'm Nico, a guy whose hacking skills stop at wood with an axe. And in this video, I want to explain why it doesn't matter if you drive an electric vehicle or a gasoline-powered vehicle. A hacker can take control of your car, it just hasn't happened to you specifically. Yet. Before I can even attempt to explain anything in Miller and Valasek's 93-page research paper, I first need to give a bare-bones basics explanation of internet connection, and with that, how hacking works. To do that though, I first need to take you back a few hundred years to the beginnings of long-distance communication. In 1837, Samuel Morse showcased a new technology he had co-developed at a public demonstration. Following less reliable methods of sending messages, grunting, pigeons, and blazed Native Americans playing with fire, the telegraph and the language developed with it revolutionized communication with its speed and reliability. Instead of sending out a rider on a horse with a letter, now we could send pulses of electricity along a wire to transmit a message in seconds. This convenient new system had a problem though. It wasn't very secure. If you wanted to listen in on the conversation, all you had to do was connect to the wire with a headset. The electrical signals would then also travel down your wire to your headset. You would then hear the sound from the electricity activating the speakers inside your headset, and assuming you understood Morse code, then you could also hear the message. This is the harmless form of hacking, observation, but of course you could take it a step further by controlling the messages being sent. Still with the telegraph analogy, if you cut the wire running new connections to your own telegraph, then you could still listen in on the conversation. But with your own telegraph splitting the connection, you could then also send faulty messages to either operator. This is, in essence, how hacking works. And while today the principle is basically the same, the whole process is obviously way more complex. Fans of the Matrix will be familiar with code. This language is in principle kind of similar to Morse code in that every bit of information will be given a combination of zeros and ones, the dots and dashes for Morse code, to convey a message. Obviously messages, commands, and everything we do on the internet is far more complex than the Morse code messages we used to send, so there are a lot of zeros and ones, but that is basically how everything we do on our phones and computers, and nowadays cars, works. So back to Miller and Valasek's experiment. or rather 2 experiments. 2 years prior, Miller, Valasek, and the same journalist, Andy Greenberg, decided to do a simpler version of the car hacking experiment. In this one, Miller and Valasek connected to the car with the cable via the car's OBD2 port, the port your technician uses to remove error messages from your car's computer. Using their software, Miller and Valasek were then able to control various parts of the car. For the second experiment, Miller and Valasek went wireless, but still had one key bit of information, the IP address. Just like your phone, your computer, or any other internet-connected device, modern cars also have an IP address. If you're unfamiliar with IP addresses, think of them as the addresses of the houses in your neighborhood, and all of the roads and all other buildings are part of a large network we call the Internet. Just as each house and other building has its own distinct address, each device has its own distinct IP address. And like with sending a specific message to a specific house, in order to take control of a specific device, you also need that device's specific IP address. Though if you don't care to target any one specific device, then there are obviously other methods. If you want to read the full research paper that Miller and Valasek published, I'll link it down in the description below. There you can also find links to my Patreon page where you can watch these videos ad-free, and to my affiliate links to NordVPN. I recently started using NordVPN to protect myself on the internet, and if you value your privacy, you should too. I spend an obscene amount of time connected to the internet, clicking on hundreds of websites researching for these videos, and in order to hide my identity, location, and other private information, I use NordVPN to protect myself. A VPN works kind of like a stunt double, where your IP address, which is what hackers need to hack your device, is hidden away in the trailer while the VPN server's IP address is on set being hit by a car. Another great feature of a VPN is that it gives you access to content that you otherwise wouldn't have access to. Whenever I'm in Europe visiting friends and family, it can be frustrating to get on a streaming service only to find that suddenly nothing is available to you because you're outside of the country. But with NordVPN, you can access servers all around the world to gain access to content that would otherwise be unavailable. NordVPN also offers a ton of other features, such as Threat Protection Pro, that protect you from fraudulent websites that are set up to take your private information. If you want to learn more and save 70% or more on a plan today, you can click my affiliate link in the description below and see which plan best fits your needs at no risk with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. And with that, back to the video.
These cars had units expose a particular service that probably they didn't want to. It lets you do things like query it for information like the GPS or the VIN or all sorts of other things, but it also lets you just run commands.
So you have to first break into the car remotely over the cell network and then move laterally if you want to do things like send CAN messages. And those are the messages that we can use to control things like steering or the windshield wipers or braking.
So naturally, that begs the question, what is being done to stop these attacks from happening? At first glance, it honestly seems like a lot. There's legislation in place on cybersecurity measures, and the NHTSA has created some security guidelines for automakers, but it's not exactly as it seems. A few months prior to the Wired article being published in 2015, Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts released a scathing report of 20 automakers' cybersecurity measures. The full thing is linked in the description below, but the TLDR is that, quote, there is a clear lack of appropriate security measures to protect drivers against hackers who may be able to take control of a vehicle, or against those who may wish to collect and use personal driver information. Today, of course, cars have gotten even more technology, and the cybersecurity measures don't appear to have gotten much stronger. Despite legislation being passed in 2019, directing the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration to create cybersecurity standards for motor vehicles, it is, quote, non-binding and voluntary guidance to the automotive industry. This battle for consumer privacy is still ongoing, with Senator Markey sending the automotive industry further questions on data protections in 2023. So where does that leave us, the users, who have our location, our speed, and a ton of other data collected from our vehicles? The simple answer is that we have to get more informed about the data being collected from our cars and how car companies protect that data from data breaches. Anyway, the next step is making sure that these car companies know how much we value our privacy. That means opting out of data collection, which you can do by simply searching up the car company that made your car, and also the words data collection. That should take you to the right website. But if you're afraid that you'll come across a fraudulent website, then you can check out my links to NordVPN in the description below and protect yourself. Lastly, you can also sign petitions like that of the Mozilla Foundation to stop having your data collected, or you can also email your state representatives stating that this is a big concern for you. One person holding up a sign in the streets is not enough to get a multi-billion-dollar corporation to change its data collection and storage practices. Meaningful change takes collective action from everyone. If everyone were to suddenly opt out of data collection and make it known to car companies how much we value our data privacy, then there would be some drastic changes really quickly, and it wouldn't take that much effort on our part. But until that day comes, I guess we can only hope that the IP addresses of our cars stay out of the hands of those who mean us harm. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the subscribe button. It's free and it helps me out more than you might think. If you want to further support the channel, you can do so by checking out my Patreon page, where you can watch these videos ad-free. Until next time, people of the internet, peace out.